All right, good morning. Welcome. Oh, thanks, Molly. Welcome to United Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Abby Marquin, and I am the worship facilitator for today's service. Our musician today is Alex Chilson. There is childcare available in the back for the all, 2 kids, 3, one of whom is mine. We are very excited today to have Dr. Pascale Engelmajer as our guest speaker. Many of you have heard Pascale before and know that she is one of my colleagues at Carroll University, where she teaches religious studies, courses in a range of things, including women in religion and East Asian religions. She's a specialist in Buddhism. She'll be talking to us today about mothers in ancient Buddhism, how to treat others with loving kindness. She's the author of multiple books, including my favorite, which is 365 Ways of Living Mindfully, which we forgot to bring again as a sample, but I highly recommend. It's really thoughtful and smart. So I am looking forward to hearing what she has to share with us today. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors and guests. Hope that you'll join all of us after the service for coffee and conversation downstairs. There's a number of announcements that were on the loop, and I believe that Ellen has a special announcement for us today.
Hi, so I did announce this a couple of weeks ago, but now I have my little posters, my sign-ups ready. So on Sunday, March 23rd, we're going to have our next Love in Action Sunday. I didn't label it as such, but that will also be our next potluck. So the potluck is, we're going to do tacos again, I hope that's okay with everybody. So sign up to bring something if you would. But then the love in action part is that we're going to prepare food for the following Saturday. We're going to serve lunch at the Hope Center. We've done stuff like this before, but never at the Hope Center, kind of right in our backyard. So if you saw the email, I titled it One for United, bringing something for United, and One for Hope, one for the Hope Center. The Social Justice Council budget will pay for the meat, but then if people can bring, a bag of lettuce, a can of beans, the obvious stuff. So the Love in Action part will be on Sunday, March 23rd. We'll prepare some of the food. And then again, we're going to serve on March 29th at the Hope Center. I'll need a few hands to do that on the 29th. I don't have that sign up yet. The other thing I think we're going to do for the Love in Action Sunday is postcards. I think we're doing those not to tell people who to vote for, but to make sure people vote in the state Supreme Court election. So postcards and some food prep. Any questions, let me know. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. And that sign up will be downstairs, correct? Yes. Okay, after the service. Great, thank you. Our call to worship today comes from Robin Wall Kimmerer, Braiding Sweetgrass. Ceremony is a vehicle for belonging to a family, to a people, and to the land. Ceremonies transcend the boundaries of the individual and resonate beyond the human realm. Ceremony focuses attention so that the attention becomes intention. If you stand together and profess a thing before your community, it holds you accountable. Let's be together, let's stand together, let's celebrate together. Molly, would you like to come help me light the chalice? Each Sunday, we light our flaming chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Please join me in saying the words here on the wall. Very well done. May this flame kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. Here together, we scatter and nurture seeds of spirit, service, and community. Please join us in singing hymn number 1012, When I Am Frightened.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. You share some of your stories with me. If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me, stand by me willingly? You share some of your questions with me. If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me, comfort me tenderly? You share some of your feelings with me. If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
We build our sense of community by sharing milestones in our individual lives, joys and sorrows that make up who we are. If you have something to share, please come to the microphone, pick up a stone, and place it in the water, allowing the ripples of the water to carry your joys and sorrows to the wider community. Thank you.
On Friday night, me and my mom and dad went to see The Woman in Black at the Rep, and it was really scary because, it was kind of gothic, as my mom puts it, and it was really good, but like really scary. And then later today, we're going to go see Mean Girls with Isabel and Sarah, which is like super long. It's like 3 hours, so yeah. And my friend Amalia, who is actually my brother's friend's sister, is the lead, so. That was.
I'm Patty. The week was eventful in a number of ways, but two events. My friend Hal, that I've spoken about a few times since early in the year, has moved into long-term care and is more cognizant of what's happening because more medications have been out of his system to let that happen. So he's referred to his move to long-term care as this feels like a step backwards. And it probably is, but it's also a step to give his wife a sane routine. Then speaking of plays and stepping backwards, I went to see a friend who performed in The Sound of Music, which was 3 hours long. I'm going to stop saying things. The sound of music is timely again, and it's stepping backwards.
Hi, I'm Dennis. I have a bunch of joys. I'll start with a personal joy. I am now a member of the board. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to give it a whirl. And I'm looking forward to it. Second joy is our daughter Samantha, who lives in Indianapolis. If you are aware, she's a mental health therapist. She just passed her licensure exam in Indianapolis. So really proud of her for that. A couple of other joys. I have a niece who just had had her gallbladder removed. She's doing really well. That's joyful there. I also have a nephew who has gone through cancer treatments, both chemo and radiation. He is also doing well, but appreciate any thoughts you may have. It's just difficult to see young people 40 and 50, going through treatments like that, but it is what it is. And then last but not least, we will be missing you next Sunday. We're doing our annual trek to Cancun, and we will try to bring the 80-degree temperatures back. No promises.
Hi, I'm Michael. I have a joy. Yesterday I got to spend the day with my daughter and my son together. That never happens except Christmas and Thanksgiving. And a niece that I'm really close to. I went to Madison to the market. So there is some of Jeffrey's bread downstairs and some of his muffins. So who's ever down there first or second might get really lucky. There's actually lots of food because Gilles and Sarah and her kids brought lots of food too, but just a heads up.
I have a joy. My name is Pat, and I'll be opening up a support group for LGBT youth this fall in Waukesha at the Waukesha Public Library.
Gosh, along that line, it's great to have you on the board, and it'll be awesome. And along with what Pat was saying, I went to a trans workshop in Madison at Madison United, not United, but anyway, Unitarian congregation. It was, they're a tiny church of like 900, but anyway, it was well attended. I learned a lot. And one thing maybe we can bring forward with our congregation in terms of an action that's supportive is I have to talk to Sam first, but if all of our name tags can have whatever pronouns you wish to have on them, because a lot of us were commenting that we want to do good, but our brains are grooved already into he and she, and it's very, very difficult. And I was thinking if we had our name tags that said Jennifer, she, whatever I am, her, yeah. That would be, and I can learn to we will learn to look at name tags, folks, and then we can help each other be welcoming. Along the welcoming line, I'm going to, I am Fond du Lac on the 27th, and we're going to get the contract officially signed by Reverend Jim. So that'll be a real thing.
I will put one last stone in the water for all of the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken. May we carry them in our hearts and minds for the week ahead.
Walking with you, walking with you is our prayer.
All right. Oh, good. Okay, kids. I'm gonna watch the stories for everyone. But this is our time for all ages. Hey, what if the kids come up so that they can see the pictures really well? What do you say? Oh, I'm getting the evil eye. Not from Zoe, my own daughter. The older ones, yes, okay. So our story for all ages today is called The Seed of Compassion. Oh. I wanted to read the title, though. It's okay. By His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Okay. I was born in Tokster in the Amdo province of northeastern Tibet. It was a place of tall mountains, clear streams, blue skies, and many animals. Mastiffs, sheep, horses, yaks, scorpions, chickens, and cows. Our home was in the shadow of the Amichiri, the mountain that pierces the sky. Oh no. Technology fails. Mine was a family of farmers. My father would spend the day tending to and selling horses, and I would stay home with my mother and help with her daily work. We would plant barley, buckwheat, and potatoes. But those were not the only seeds we planted. From the time I was very young, my mother planted in me the seed of compassion. By the example she set, she raised me on a diet of love. It was often my job to collect the eggs from our hens. I took my duty very seriously. While my mother cooked the aroma of kori, a delicious bread wafting from our kitchen, I would play in the courtyard with scorpions for company. Sometimes I would sit on the roof of our house. It was the perfect place to watch the mountains reach toward the sky. I'd imagine what the older boys were doing as they accompanied their fathers herding. I couldn't wait to be big enough to do that. I can't seem to figure out the right button to push. My other favorite perch was atop my mother's shoulders. From there, I felt like one of the older boys. I was taller than my father, and getting around was so easy. When I wanted to go left, I would simply tug on my mother's left ear. When I wanted to go right, I would give her right ear a pull. And if she didn't understand my instructions or chose to ignore them, I would kick my legs. Although my mother could not teach me to read or write, I learned so much from her. I was often a naughty boy, but she always treated me with kindness. Sometimes I think she may have been a little too patient with me. I was a bit spoiled. But that was her nature. She was this way with everyone around her. One year, when there was a famine in our region and many families did not have enough to eat, my mother gave whatever food we had stored to our neighbors and those in need. In this way, she tended the seed of that most important lesson by demonstrating how to practice compassion. She showed me as a child that it was possible to treat all people with warm-heartedness and to help ease their suffering. Like a tall tree never forgets the seed it sprouted from, I've often returned to the seed of compassion my mother planted, and which I carried with me as a small child at home, as a young monk in training, and today, as I spread the message of compassion around the world. I loved growing up under the big open sky in Taxter, but I always knew that my life would take me beyond my small village. When I was almost 3, some monks came from the capital, Lhasa, looking for the child who was the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama, the spiritual leader of the Tibetan Buddhists. They had been searching all over the country for him, and the millions of people of Tibet had been waiting to hear that he had been found. No one in my family could have expected that I was that child, least of all me. But after passing a series of tests, where I correctly identified the belongings of the previous Dalai Lama and held them with a great sense of familiarity, our visitors were satisfied that they had found the boy they were looking for. And so, at age 4, I made the journey to Lhasa in a caravan that snaked through the mountains. It took 3 months, and as news spread that the new Dalai Lama had been found, more and more people joined the procession. I rode in a beautiful palanquin with my brother. We were rambunctious boys, and every time we roughhoused inside the cozy cabin, we would knock it off balance. We had to be separated for the rest of the journey. In Lhasa, after I turned 6, my formal education began, and my days were filled with studies. In the few hours I had for personal time, I loved to puzzle over how things worked. I could spend hours taking apart toys, clocks, and watches, and putting them back together again, or exploring the mechanics of movie projectors and cars. This occasionally got me in trouble. As I trained to be a monk, I studied many subjects like Buddhist philosophy and history, logic and reasoning, metaphysics, poetry, medicine, Tibetan, and Sanskrit. One topic that I loved was compassion because of the seed that had been planted in me by my mother. I believe that is what led me to free the people held in the prison next to Potala Palace, where I lived. I have spent my entire life studying this topic, and I know it is my duty to help make the world a more compassionate place. The remarkable thing is this ability is within every one of us, and it is strongest, I believe, within children like you. Many Buddhist teachings compare those on the journey of life to sprouts, or the young shoots of a plant that must be tended until they grow strong and thrive. Parents often describe their children as sprouts too, especially when they see how quickly they grow. But children are like sprouts not just physically, but in how they contain potential that can be nourished. The seed of compassion is within every child. It is there from birth and is a part of our nature, and it flourishes because of love. If you think about it, when it comes to the 5 basic senses, we humans are not all that impressive. The elephant has a long nose and can pick up faint scents from a much greater distance than we can. The hare can turn his tall ears forward and backwards to pick up sounds that we would miss. The eagle has eyes that can spot the tiniest prey from far up in the sky. It's not the use of our senses that make us special. But only humans have the ability, with discipline and effort, to train the mind. It is what makes us different from other animals. It is our superpower, and it is where the seed of compassion thrives. Think about this. When you are playing in the schoolyard and a group welcomes you with a smile, do you want to play with them? Or do you want to play with someone who greets you with a scowl? Of course you want to play with someone who welcomes you with a genuine smile, as you already have the ability to see genuine compassion in others. From self-confidence grows compassion, and from compassion, strength blooms. But so often our world puts importance on material things and pushes us to be competitive with people around us. The material world is based only on the 5 basic senses. Compassion is based in the mind, the part of us that is uniquely human. It is where you might grow strongest, and how you can create something positive in the world. Because compassion is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength. When you approach someone with true warm-heartedness, they can feel it. Doing so only brings more joy to you and them. There are many simple ways to bring more happiness to the world. But you already know that. What you must do now is protect and nurture this seed. When someone disagrees with you, rather than think they are mistaken, you must ask, why might they feel this way? When someone is scowling or upset or hurt, you could busy yourself with your own concern, or you could ask, what might I do to help them? The question may not come immediately, but just as you gradually learn to read or swim or play an instrument, you can build compassion day by day. It takes practice. And even when you slip and don't make the compassionate choice, tomorrow presents the opportunity for you to try again. I have many responsibilities in my life, but helping to make the world a more compassionate place is the most important one. We cannot change the past, we can only learn from it. Otherwise, it is beyond our control. But the future we can change. And as children, you already have the tools needed to build a happier world, a better world, a more compassionate world. Please join me in singing the children out.
Go lifted up, love bless your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day.
Each week in our church, we take up an offering. It's good to remind ourselves that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. Through pledges, we build our budget and fund our yearly programs and ministries of worship and religious education, pay our staff and professional religious leaders, and finance the comfort and beauty of our building. And we know that we could easily submit those pledge checks to the church at any convenient time. But as we pass the plate during worship to make a community expression of thanks for the blessings of abundance, our offering says that the act of giving is essential to our spiritual well-being as anything else we do here on a Sunday morning. The morning offering will now be received.
Good morning. All right, let me play with the microphone a little bit. Is it working like this? Yeah? Great. So I'm going to read to you a text from the Buddhist Canon, and you probably see where also the Dalai Lama got some inspiration, maybe. It's called the Mettā Sutta. Metta means loving kindness, and it's usually associated with karuna, which is the compassion that the Dalai Lama was speaking about. So the Buddha says, "This is what must be done by one who is skillful in respect of the good, having attained this peaceful state. They should be capable, straight, and very upright, easy to speak to, gentle and not proud, contented and easy to support, having few duties and of a frugal way of life, with their sense faculties calmed, zealous, and not impudent and not greedy. They should not do any mean thing on account of which the wise would criticize them. Let all beings indeed be happy and secure. Let them be happy-minded. Whatever living beings they are, moving or still, without exception, whichever are long or large or middle-sized or short, small or great, whichever are seen or unseen, whichever live far or near, whether they already exist or are going to be, let all beings be happy. One should not humiliate another. One should not despise anyone anywhere. One should not wish another misery because of anger or from the notion of repugnance. Just as a mother would protect with her life her own child, her only child, so one should cultivate an unbounded mind towards all beings and loving kindness towards all the world. One should cultivate an unbounded mind above and below and across, without obstruction, without enmity, without rivalry. Standing or going, sitting or lying down, as long as one is free from drowsiness, one should practice this mindfulness. This, they say, is the holy state here. And of course, I didn't take am I going straight into my talk? Okay, I forgot the program there. Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again since, last time. And so I thank you for the invitation. I also want to thank Abby and Jennifer for helping me coordinate this visit. Speaking in a church always takes me out of my academic world and its requirements for scientific objectivity and emotional and moral detachment. Well, a scholar is supposed to present the facts and remove herself from the account she gives of a phenomenon, be it a scientific experiment, a historical event, or a religious tradition, in my case. But today, I want to step out a little bit of the academic mold and the pretense of objectivity. I still intend to share some facts about Buddhism, but I also want to share what they mean for me on a personal level, in the hope that you will find something useful and usable about those facts. So speaking at this time, in this country, and in this world is certainly intimidating. What can I say of interest in the middle of a political, economic, and social crisis that threatens to upend the lives of many and whose impact looms large over our future? Many of us are caught in a maelstrom of emotions: fear, anxiety, gratitude for the good things we have, relief for not being directly affected, sometimes guilt for feeling privileged, and even for many of us, fierce anger at what is happening. We might ask then, how can ancient text be relevant to what we are reliving through right now? What words, what ideas from over 2,000 years ago can be useful and applicable in today's world? My research focuses on mothers and mothering in ancient Buddhism. I am interested in how an intensely patriarchal society, I'm thinking like the one we're trying to go towards these days, like that of an ancient India here, in which early Buddhism emerged, how did they conceptualize a spiritual path for women that embodied its highest values and goals while being compatible with its social requirements? So before I go further, I want to add a caveat here. When I speak about mothers and mothering, I am not speaking about a gendered role, but about a way of relating to the world, about the motivation to pursue certain activities and not others. Mothering, then, is something that anyone can do, regardless of sex or gender. However, I must also acknowledge and recognize that for most, if not all, of human history, and in most, if not all, human society, female human beings were responsible, sometimes against their will, for the work of mothering other human beings. So with this in mind, let's look at mothers in the early Buddhist text. Mothers are often referred to in metaphors that highlight their compassion and loving kindness, and we can see still today in Tibetan Buddhism, the Dalai Lama, is thinking about compassion and his mother. But the Buddhist traditions, however, as well as scholars of Buddhism, most of them, see mother's compassion as limited by particular attachments. According to this dominant narrative, mother's compassion is flawed because it focuses only on one's own children. Real compassion, we are told, must be universal. It applies equally to all, regardless of one's personal relationships and preferences. What is this universal compassion that is presented as the exclusive prerogative of the Buddha, and how is it superior to mother's compassion? Joan Halifax, an American Buddhist teacher, describes compassion as, and I quote here, an experience in which compassion appears to pervade the mind of the experiencer as a way of being. It is an actualization, she says, of compassion that is characterized by a sense of the pervasiveness and boundlessness of kindness and concern. On the other hand, Thupten Jinpa, the translator to the Dalai Lama for over 30 years, defines compassion, and I quote again, as a sense of concern that arises when we are confronted with another's suffering and feel motivated to relieve that suffering. At its core, he says, compassion is a response to the inevitable reality of our human condition, our experience of pain and sorrow. So the Buddha explains how to respond. And, as I read a moment ago, he tells his followers to develop loving kindness and compassion, just like a mother would protect with her life her own child, her only child. So one should cultivate an embodied mind towards all beings and loving kindness towards all the world. The Buddha explicitly tells us that compassion starts with developing a particular relationship with each and every one, modeled on the one a mother has with their child, and we see that very well in the story that you read, Abby. It is therefore clear that universal compassion and loving kindness only happen in specific instances, in particular interactions rooted in unique context. It seems to me then that universal compassion is the compass that guides our actions, regardless of one's personal relationships and preferences, and also that it can only exist when it is embodied in every particular interaction we engage in. So how do mothers embody compassion and loving kindness in the Buddhist text? Well, to describe this, I'm going to borrow Sarah Ruddick's framework. Sarah Ruddick is an American feminist philosopher who identified 3 demands that mothering aims to address. The first demand, she says, is placed on mothers is preserving their children's life. The second is nurturing their emotional, psychological, intellectual, and spiritual growth. And the third is socializing children according to their social milieu. In the Buddhist text, one prominent example of mothering is Mahapajapati, the Buddha's milk mother. So when the Buddha's mother, his birth mother, dies, shortly after, well, according to the text, 7 days after giving birth to him, Mahapajapati, who was also his aunt and stepmother, his father having married both Maya and Mahapajapati, the two sisters, pretty convenient, I suppose. So Mahapajapati, his aunt and stepmom, the text tells us, she did much for the Buddha. She took care of him, she nourished him, and she gave him milk. She breastfed him, basically. And if you think about it, without Mahapajapati, there is no Buddha. There was no supermarket where you could go and buy formula for the baby, right? So absolutely entire dependence on maternal milk here. So without Mahapajapati, we don't have a Buddha. She preserved his life. She served as a mother to him by giving him her milk. But Mahapajapati is not just a mother to the Buddha, and her mothering extends well beyond preserving the baby Buddha's life to nurturing the spiritual growth of Buddhist women. According to the tradition, she convinced the Buddha, when he was grown up and already the Buddha, she convinced him to allow women to be ordained as nuns and to dedicate themselves to the spiritual life at a time when the women's only option was to be a wife and a mother. They were not allowed to pursue a religious path at all in those times. In the following centuries, the order of nuns nurtured the spiritual development of generations of Buddhist women, both within the monastery as nuns and in the wider community. In addition to nurturing spiritual growth, Mahapajapati's advocacy for the nuns' order, then, is also an example of socialization, but socialization writ large. That is, not simply helping children to become well-adapted members of a social group, but advocating for a social order that promotes not only the survival, but the full-fledged growth of all of its members. By founding the nuns' order, Mahapajapati did just that. She transformed society so that it became supportive of women's spiritual aspirations. So, how is this example of a mother like Mahapajapati, dating back to 2,500 years ago, useful and usable for us, such as we are in the 21st century, in the middle of what feels to us an unprecedented national and global political turmoil? Well, this mothering framework that I borrowed from Sarah Ruddick allows us to develop our compassion on a day-to-day, case-by-case basis. As the Buddha reminds us, mothers are both the role model for compassion and its embodiment. To be a mother to the world is to seek to ensure the survival and growth of all beings on a case-by-case basis. It is to create a society that ensures the survival and growth of all beings. To be a mother to the world is to ask ourselves, each and every time, how does this action benefit? And who does it benefit? Does it ensure that the most vulnerable will not only survive but also thrive? Does it promote their emotional, psychological, intellectual, and spiritual growth? Does it create a more just and fair society for all? Mothering is not an impossible ideal. Everyone can be a mother to another. We mother based on our own possibilities and capacities. Nothing more is required. Everyone can find it in themselves to open up to a mothering relationship, one in which we live up to our potential in this particular place and in this particular relation. It may be embracing one who suffers, lending a caring ear to one who struggles, or even just being present when presence is the only thing that can be offered. It may also take the form of dropping off a can of soup at the local pantry or preparing a meal for the Hope Center, that is, yeah. Volunteering at the local adult literacy service, or even donating a sum of money to support an organization, be it a church or another organization. It can be writing letters to our representatives in government or voting for politicians who that truly advocate for the underrepresented and promote their well-being and growth. Or it may be speaking up publicly for the rights of the most vulnerable, or even leading or organizing a social justice movement, or being part of the social justice council at your church. At the most basic level, being a mother to the world requires of us to ensure that whatever we say or do never demeans or devalues the life and worth of another human being. When you feel powerless or overwhelmed by the task at hand, remember that when we improve one life, it may appear to us as just one life among the many millions that need improving. But for the person whose life we are improving, it means everything. Just like for a child who receives their mother's embrace, this embrace means everything. Thank you.
Please join in singing hymn 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
This is from Bell Hooks, How to Be a Bodhisattva. To begin the practice of love, we must slow down and be still enough to be a witness in the present moment. If we accept that love is a combination of care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, and trust, then let's be guided by this understanding and use it as a map in our daily life.
we extinguish this flame. But not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we will carry in our hearts until we meet again. Please join us downstairs after the postlude for coffee and conversation.
Now I've been happy lately, thinking about the good things to come. And I believe it could be something good has begun. I've been smiling lately, dreaming about the world as one. And I believe it could be someday it's gonna come. 'Cause out on the edge of darkness there rides a peace train. Peace train, take this country, come take me home again. Now I've been smiling lately, thinking about the good things to come. And I believe it could be something good has begun. Peace train sounding louder, glide on the peace train. Come on the peace train, the peace train, holy roller, everyone jump on the peace train. Oh, come on the peace train. Now get your bags together, go on, bring your good friends too. 'Cause it's getting nearer, it soon will be with you. Come on and join the living, it's not too far from you. And it's getting nearer, soon it will all be true. Peace train, holding louder, glide on the peace train. Oh, come on the peace train. Now peace train, holy roller, everyone jump on the peace train. Oh, come on the peace train. Now I've been crying lately, thinking about the world as it is. Why must we go on hating? Why can't we live in bliss? 'Cause out on the edge of darkness there rides a peace train. Oh, peace train, take this country, come take me home again. Now peace train sounding louder, ride on the peace train. Oh, come on the peace train. Peace train, holy roller, everyone jump on the peace train. Oh, come on again. Yes, come on the